to another episode of Behind the Dirty Needle.
Oh, shit.
Where this week we're talking about a different kind of needle.
Yeah.
The kind that doesn't go in your face.
It should go in the subcutaneous area of your body.
That is right. I look at you pulling out the medical vernacular. I love it.
I pay attention.
I love it.
May or may not have done it.
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, a fun fact, I used to be a pharmaceutical rep, and I was actually one of the reps who launched this particular weight loss drug when it was a diabetes drug.
Okay.
I mean, it still is a diabetes drug. Let's be very clear.
Yeah.
But it has wormed its way into the medical aesthetic industry and into many, many, many med spas.
Oh, boy.
Where it is being administered by people who, let's just say, they shouldn't.
Would you say that med spas are using the actual brand names, or are they using compounding? No. Because they're allowed to use the compounding version because it has not been...
Well, because there was a shortage issue for a time.
And it hasn't been patented or trademarked or whatever it is by the FDA or some shit.
It is patented. And here's where it gets tricky, because compounding pharmacies, the actual product that you get from them can be up to 30% different from the actual original molecule. And to compound that, compounding pharmacies, they also add other things to it, like vitamin B. How many times do you see vitamin B?
B12.
Yes, all the time. Which in clinical studies, GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide 1, it is a hormone that is produced by your body. And the reason that's injectable is because if you add any kind of external, like if you try to put that in a capsule, which they do have a capsule, and that's a different story, if the bioavailability of it goes down. Mm-hmm. So what happens to it when you add B12 to it? We don't know. We've never done clinical studies with that. So we don't know the efficacy of it, with B12. So all that being said, what you're getting at these compound pharmacies, it's not the same thing.
Which can be dangerous, right?
It may work. I mean, it may give you some weight loss, but let's be very, very, very clear. Semaglutide or Ozempic, tirzepatide or Mounjaro, they are different from whatever you're getting at your local compounding pharmacy or at your local med spa. It's not the same thing.
It can be a fraction of the price, right? At times.
Then the real thing?
Mm-hmm.
Depends. Well, the real thing covered by insurance?
Yeah. I only saw in my career in the med spa, 2 people got it covered by insurance and had like a $25 copay. 2.
Maybe you need to look into that, because it's actually got really good coverage. In the medical setting, it's all about knowing the right pathway to prescribe. So patients have to fill in metformin first. And then you also have to document that the A1C is a certain level. And then,
but don't you have to have blood tests for that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you don't, and still want to have GLP-1, you could do the compounding.
To get it covered, you have to have the blood tests.
Yeah.
So, that's a must. I will never forget, a dermatology office was providing semaglutide, compounded semaglutide. Mm-hmm. And they were having their injector administer this. And the injector was an esthetician. She ended up with 3 people in the hospital, one of them in liver failure, because the dosing, she was inappropriately dosing them. And I will be the first to admit, I launched this drug. I know the ins and outs of it. The compounded version of it, the dosing is totally different. Mm-hmm. I can't even understand the dosing on it. It's way too complicated.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be doing that much math. I'm actually quite shocked that there have not been more people end up in the hospital from these compounded versions, because I think the screening process and the just the coaching has been so poor.
I remember I took a big stance. I understand why people come into the office to get injected, but where I went to be a manager at one time, these people were front desk, manager, medical assistant. That was who was injecting these people.
Oh yeah, that's
and giving them health advice and dietary advice, and eat this, not that type of stuff. Yeah. And I just was it was laughable. So when I came on board, I shut that down.
Yeah, I think that's good.
And of course, I got a lot of what? No, that's who I like to see. Yeah, you like to see them because they would just shoot you up no matter what. Mm-hmm. And then when I brought in, physician assistant, doctor, whatever, or even a nurse level, of being the ones that had to actually say what they could get injected with, it was a whole different ballgame. Less controversy, less problems, less issues.
Here's the thing, like, these are wonderful molecules. These are incredible, life-changing drugs, and I'm 100% behind it. I think that they should be accessible to people who want to lose weight, who don't just have diabetes. But, like, for that to happen, I think you have to have reputable compounding pharmacies. And you have to really know, like, you have to really credential them and do your research on them and make sure they're actually,
safe.
You also have to combine it with lifestyle behavior modifications.
Yeah, because it's not a miracle drug.
No, people like to act like it is, and it can do some pretty miraculous things for people. I've seen some incredible transformations. However, you need to be on the lowest efficacious dose that is possible. So if that means you're on a starting dose for as long as you're on the product, that's fine. If it's still working for you, you don't need to go up in your dose. Because what happens is people are just not eating. Or they'll eat like 2 Skittles. That's not enough to sustain your body. That's why we have all these people.
You know, at least 3 Skittles.
At least, I mean, add a little bit of protein in there, maybe an M&M or 2.
Right.
No, but I mean, like, you really do have to eat to fuel your body, and you have to be very intentional in the way that you're eating, because the reality is, it slows your gastric emptying, and so it gives you basically, kind of, for lack of a better term, a little bit of gastroparesis, or like paralyzing of the gut. Like, it slows the way everything goes through you.
So you feel full longer.
Exactly. That's why drinking on GLP-1s is a lot more. I don't know if you've ever experienced a GLP-1, if you've ever tried it yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever had alcohol
maybe once, but not enough to maybe cause any issues.
Yeah, you feel drunk a lot faster. You see drunk longer. No, it's not. Especially the next day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Everything stays in your system a little bit longer, right?
That makes sense.
And so you want to be on the lowest efficacious dose that is possible, because you still need to eat to fuel your body. So many people could benefit from having a nutritionist come alongside them, or even, like adding exercise to it. You have to do healthy lifestyle modifications. You can't just take an injection and get skinny and then expect the weight to redistribute in the ways you want it to. You're going to end up with like weird fat pockets in places and weird like saggy butt.
I actually had the office I was in transition to having the patients be prescribed the medication and do it at home. Yeah, because it was taking up too much of my people's times on the schedule where these people wouldn't show up.
Let's talk about the cost of these compounded molecules and like what the return on the investment is for you guys. Because they're very expensive.
Very much so.
So, I mean, like, I think base price, on like tirzepatide, for example, is like in the 300s. And like, you can't upcharge that much more than that and still expect people to.
Right, because you pay for an office visit too.
Yeah, well, and that's the only way you kind of make money off of it, is to get the office visit. And for safety, I think that's good. You want to be checking in with the patient. You do want somebody medical, ideally, to be checking in with them and giving them, like, hey, how's your diet going? How, are we exercising? Like, anything that's changed in the past, week or so?
Right. They obviously need to come in to get their refills. You know what I mean? Sure. So once a month, check in, weigh, all that kind of stuff, talk about all the things. But to come in weekly for that, I just felt was stupid.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. I think, like, to your point, once a month is I think that's reasonable. At any rate, I don't believe that estheticians should be administering this. And I think that...
Unless it's for themselves.
And I think that we really have to... I think we have to do better as an industry, especially with the screening process. Who is a candidate for this?
Yeah.
And who's not?
We try and regulate it. I know all of these protocols that, corporate companies or med spas have launched, in introducing GLP-1s to their treatment protocols menus. And it's interesting to me how detailed they get. And it's, by the book, And then once it's launched, it's like all the corners get cut. And the reality sits in that this is a freaking mess. It's a lot. And I don't think a lot of people understand it. They think it's a cash cow, and it's not.
Well, no, it's not a cash cow. It's the cost of bringing it on, especially if you have, like, if you're a med spa and you have body contouring equipment. I always tell them, if you're going to bring on a GLP-1, you better partner that with your body contouring equipment because otherwise it's never going to be used again. Because they're just going to lose weight and they're going to go to a plastic surgeon and have fix it scammer.
Right.
The fact that we are in such an industry where there are so many gray areas, where I launched this was in a medical setting, there are no gray areas. There's black and white there.
Very much so.
And here, like it's interesting to hear you say that they have all these protocols in place, but those corners get cut. I think that's the nature of our business because there are so many like gray areas.
And, so much. Yeah.
This is one area that I think we need to be black and white. We don't need to skate in the gray.
No, this is people's health we're talking about.
And these are wonderful medications when used appropriately, but they do need to be used appropriately.
Yeah.
Under the supervision of a medical doctor.
For sure.
Always.
I think they've been glorified by celebrities and social media.
I don't think they've been glorified at all. They are truly incredible drugs. Like you cannot
take. You don't think that the mainstream people who may have that 5 to 10 pounds to lose, who hear that so-and-so famous person who had a similar situation, who has all the money in the world, doesn't matter if they have insurance or not. And they just want to lose that 5 to 10 pounds, but don't want to do anything other than shoot themselves up with this GLP-1. That kind of makes people sway into that. Well, Kim Kardashian did it, or this person. I'm not saying Kim Kardashian did it, but like, you don't think that glorifies?
I think it's just very real. I think it's being transparent and being honest.
Okay.
I think that is what a lot of people use it for. I don't think that is, I don't think that's the best way to probably get rid of that last 5 to 10 pounds. But if somebody's not going to do what it takes to get there otherwise, what is so bad about them taking a low dose of a GLP-1 under the medical supervision of a doctor to get to a healthier weight?
Yes. I think there's also the fact that some medical professionals feel very bullied and cornered into prescribing these things. Like the person in front of them is going to get mad if they don't, and I witnessed that,
Really?
Like, what does she need? She's at the goal weight. Why are you continuously giving this to her? Because she wants it. If you embrace that healthy lifestyle for the people who don't need it medicinally like that, who don't have the diabetes and health issues, they just have it purely for the weight loss. They needed to retrain their brains with the healthy lifestyle.
See, there's GLP-1 receptors in your brain, though. So, like, the GLP-1 is actually doing something in your brain as well. Cutting off those
cravings and all that. Yeah.
They're actually studying, it in people who have shopping addiction, people who have alcoholism, addictive tendencies, because I can attest to the fact that it will change your thinking about food.
Sure. Your relationship with food completely changes. It did with me too. I lost 30 pounds on it. Very, very happy. But for the people who come in who don't need it.
What do you define as don't need?
Their BMI is fine.
Okay.
And then sometimes they're right where they should be at their target weight. We put them on the scale and they're healthy. They just want it because vanity.
I think if they're healthy and they know the risks and they're screened appropriately and they stay on the lowest dose that they can and they're doing the lifestyle things that they can to maintain a healthy body, I don't see anything wrong with it.
So it was just, I just don't want to have this little extra weight.
Yeah.
I just never saw anyone be told no.
That's interesting. Yeah, I have seen people be told no, which is good.
Yeah, it's very good.
But I think way too many people were told yes that probably said no.
Right. And then that creates a shortage for the people who do really need it.
No, it doesn't, because those people who are being told yes are getting potency.
Well, see, some of the people tried to get, prior authorizations.
Yeah, but most can't without a reason.
Right.
Labs.
But they will stretch that truth with CPT codes all day long.
True.
I've seen it firsthand. Really?
Mm-hmm. See, I'm not. Most medical professionals and most medical centers I've been, they're not that savvy. No offense.
Well, where I work, we're very savvy.
Well, where
I worked,
I can attest to that. Yes, I can see that happening where you worked. But
yeah.
Like for the physicians I called on, they would have patients with BMIs of 30 and they have cardiovascular disease.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, I can't get it covered for my diabetes patients. I'm like, yes, you can. So I think honestly, those who need it are getting it. for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those who don't necessarily need it, those are the ones who are getting into the compounding pharmacy.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. If they're like okay with not getting the real thing and going to a compounding pharmacy,
and they've deemed it safe, you know?
Yeah, and they've been medically
if you've gotten
cleared.
a prescription from someone, they're saying that it's safe for you.
Yeah. Medically cleared.
And you're hoping that that medical professional has done their due diligence and their research into that compounding pharmacy,
Yep.
and they trust them, so therefore you trust your medical professional. That should be how it is anyway.
It should be.
Yeah.
But GLP-1s are great. They're a great tool that we have now. I think we need to use them responsibly.
Now, my question is, expired GLP-1.
Like a compounded one?
No.
Oh.
Like a real one. So if like a Mounjaro, Saxenda, a Ozempic is expired.
Mm-hmm.
It's in somebody's fridge. Is it good to use?
How expired are we talking?
So let's, for just argument's sake, let's say one is a year old and one's 6 months.
I mean, the company would tell you no.
Why?
Because that expiration date is the cutoff date.
The efficacy? Like what happens? Like it knows I'm going to turn off right now and no longer work. Like
no, it's just they can't guarantee the results. You know, like they have clinical studies that guarantee basically certain like ranges of A1C reduction if a patient takes it. And so they basically, for legal purposes, they cannot endorse that product past that expiry date.
Would anything bad happen? Or would it be that nothing would happen?
I mean, at worst, I think nothing would happen unless you have an allergic reaction to one of the excipients of the, injectable. I just think it could potentially lose its efficacy over time.
Unopened. Mm-hmm. I've always wondered about that with prescription meds, like any prescription meds that have to be refrigerated or not refrigerated.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
one day after we're going to do, like, or 1 month after. Is that really going to be a problem? If you've taken it before, but then you stopped and you wanted to go back to it, but not have to get another prescription, I see why people are like, well, can't I just use this?
I mean, you assume some risk when you do that.
Taking a risk as in you just don't know if it's going to work, or taking a risk as it's going to hurt your body?
I don't think it's going to hurt your body.
It's just going to be for no reason.
It's going to be, you're giving yourself a shot full of something for no reason. I don't know. I mean, if any physicians out there have a different opinion.
Now, if you had Mounjaro in your fridge right now,
right,
expired for 6 months or from December, would you use it?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I feel like it's still within an appropriate time range. It's still probably pretty efficacious.
Okay.
And I know that my refrigerator has been within a certain range. Like I know.
You monitor the appropriateness and accuracy of your refrigerator.
I have a thermometer in my refrigerator. It's actually a lab grade refrigerator because I used to have GLP-1s and insulin in my fridge. So yes, I actually know the exact temperature of my fridge.
Okay, so let's, for argument's sake, say that you didn't have a temperature in there. It was just a regular mom and pop fridge. You kept it in there like you were told.
I mean, if I knew like the rough temperature range, like if I knew that it had been like,
there's just the freaking setting that the normal refrigerators have. It's the recommended setting.
I don't know. Are there any crystals on it? Because it got frozen.
No, looks no. Okay. No, it's in that fridge.
How compromised is this product?
It's not compromised at all. I know. I love doing this because it's like I
throwing me on the spot.
I know. Well, that's
I know. I would probably still use it.
You would still use it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, for argument's sake, I don't have a temperature gauge in my refrigerator. However, I haven't had any outages. There's been no power outages.
Right. No length of time with it being temperature.
Yeah.
More. Yeah. So no transporting it other places.
I have no reason to believe that it has been tampered with in any way.
Yeah.
The worst that could happen potentially for me is that it wouldn't be as efficacious.
So it would be a shot for no reason.
It'd be a shot in the dark.
But it's not like going to all of a sudden become toxic.
No.
Yeah. Interesting.
If that was the case, I think there have to be another black box warning.
Yeah, like you will die.
You will literally die.
Death.
Death
The Grim Reaper comes out of the box.
I think pharmaceutical companies, for their own legality purposes, will always tell you to throw it away after the expiration.
Is that for financial benefit, though?
It's think about the millions and millions and millions of dollars it takes to bring a drug to market. Like, it takes so much to bring.
I can only imagine, and God bless those people who have that kind of money to do that. But
so,
what about the millions and millions of dollars of potentially still good medicines that are being thrown away because it's said that they're not good?
Well, I think that in that instance, for these pharmaceutical companies that have that much capital to lose,
okay,
it might be worth the loss.
Okay,
in the short term.
So you're saying we should go dumpster diving?
I am not saying you should go dumpster diving. That is absolutely not what I want you to take away from this conversation.
Everybody meet you behind your local med spa.
Walgreens at midnight.
Yeah, CVS guys.
Oh my gosh. GLP1s, they are great. They're effective. They need to be used carefully under the supervision of a medical professional who supervises you and does all the appropriate screening.
Do your research, please, guys. Everybody is calling themselves a medical professional nowadays.
Yeah, do your research and, be responsible with it.
Yeah, safety first.
All right. Well, this has been a very interesting episode.
Very, very enlightening. Yes. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Stay skinny.
Stay skinny.